And Friends comes away with a rebound and a chance to take the lead. 33-32, Emerlehu going for the lead from the left wing. Emerlehu with the triple on the move, ready to run her from 8 feet. No, Jackson snares down the miss and then puts it home for the right side. Jackson in double figures for Friends. Trey Reed looking inside, off to Emerlehu, turns down to 3, kicks it left wing to Trey Reed. He drives in the lane, now to the rim, scoops it up and in, and he got fouled. 7. Tabor ahead with 1:40 to go in overtime. Here's Garner, strong move to the cup on Zoe Rust. She throws it up and makes it, and she gets fouled for one more. Friends ahead, Barberry goes up, and he flushes it down. Barberry taking flight and getting a body in the process. What's going on, everyone? Voice of the Friends Falcons, Pat Strathman, here with another edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. You just heard moments ago from head football coach Terry Harrison. Time now to hear from the men's basketball coach at Friends University, Phil McClintock. Having to do this on a Thursday at the studio at ESPN Wichita, but glad to have Coach McClintock here. And we can actually talk about a KCAC game because the Friends Falcons played last night against the Kansas Wesleyan Coyotes, a loss for Friends in that conference opener, 99-78. Coming up next on Saturday, it's Friends and McPherson, and we'll have that coverage starting at 5 o'clock on the KCAC network /Cox 122. But, Coach, last night you go up to Salina, and I think you knew exactly what the challenge was going to be like. Kansas Wesleyan entering this season with some high hopes, a couple of impressive wins, one against a team in Morningside, a team that they lost to in the national tournament last year. They also got an impressive win over William Woods. They competed with Peru State, so you knew that they had a good roster. But in this game, you guys were able to compete for, I would say, 35 minutes out of the 40 is probably the best way to describe it. You guys are always just right there, just couldn't find a way to get over the hump. Your overall thoughts with what you saw last night in Salina?
Yeah, we've been on the road a lot, I feel like, against good teams, and so I feel like we're used to that. I feel like every time, all of our road games, we've made a step in the right direction where, obviously we were in it last night, and we had a chance there. I think it was a 4-point game with 5 minutes left. We missed front end of a 1-on-1, get a turnover, and then they have obviously a returning All-American, Alex Littlejohn. He goes, 8 straight, 2-and-1s and a layup. So, he finished the game, but I'm encouraged. I'm pretty tired of having moral victories and being encouraged and not winning. So that's where we got to get to. But these guys, we have a new group of guys, that hasn't had a ton of success, and so it's hard to win games. It's hard to win games on the road, and we've been on the road. And this team was ranked 17 in the nation preseason for a reason. And so they're a good team, and they have everybody returning and a lot of leadership. So we'll watch film today and, hopefully learn from what we're doing late, and we can get better and win some of these games.
Yeah, well, as you brought up, no moral victories. But in the first half, you guys, it was a tightly contested game. It featured 8 different lead changes in the first half. Neither team led by more than 6 points in the first half. What worked so well in the first 20 minutes to keep you in the hunt by the time you got to intermission?
Well, I think defensively we were really good. I think, we competed, we battled, we stuck to the game plan, probably as good as we have in that half all year. And I think we were down 4 at half, and we fouled a 3-point shooter the last second of the half, we've done that 4 times this year. So those are just the things that, we're trying to learn from, and it's hard to coach those things, but it's just, that confidence level and the winning plays that we're trying to make. So, but we battled, and like I said, until that 5-minute mark in the game, we were right there and defensively, offensively, sticking to our game plan. So it was definitely encouraging. So,
Friends men's basketball coach Phil McClintock here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. You brought up the end there, Alex Littlejohn. It's as simple just to say Alex Littlejohn just went off, which is pretty typical if you know anything about Alex Littlejohn, a former Bishop Carroll Golden Eagle. Ever since he stepped foot on campus, I'll never forget Coach Anthony Munson telling me about him, saying, I love this kid, and he's got a big future, and you've seen it already kind of unfold. Tooth or no tooth, I know that's kind of a story too. He has a tooth that's not really a real tooth and so on and so forth. But down the stretch there with Alex Littlejohn just taking over, was it simply just Alex Littlejohn saying, hey, we're not going to lose this game, we're going to finish, or what else kind of went into that as well in the final 5 minutes?
It was. I mean, that's what great players do, and players with experience and playing at home. And I mean, they knew exactly, that team knew what they were going to do. They were, Murdoch had a couple assists, and Littlejohn went and scored. And maybe we could have double teamed the post, there, but it all happened. I mean, 3 possessions in a row. So I watched it last night, and the problem is, it wasn't that Alex Littlejohn scored those points. It was that, Tim, saved a ball out of bounds right under the goal, right to Murdoch. He made a layup. Then we turned it over. Then we missed the front end of a 1-on-1. So it wasn't necessarily what they were doing. It was a combination of what they were doing and what we didn't do. And so, which just happened down the stretch. So that's what we're trying to learn from. So
yeah. Well, defensively, I know you're a defensive-minded coach, so when you see 99 points on the board, something tells me you're not too pleased with 99 points. But what have you seen from your team early on, defensively? I think there's so many. Everyone gets so focused on when new coaches come in, you get so focused on the offensive side. You always try to figure out what they're going to run on offense. Are they going to be more half-court oriented? Are they going to try to go up and down the floor as much as they can? Are they going to be free-flowing? Rarely do people talk about the defensive side and the differences there. So what are some of the differences that you're trying to change from the defensive standpoint to get this team to truly play good defense on a consistent level?
Yeah, fundamentally, I mean, I think we focus on it maybe more than they did last year. I don't know. I mean, with this group, it's just taken some time for them to maintain their focus defensively. And so, and like I said last night, they did a really good job. We're not the biggest team, and so rebounding-wise has been an issue for us this year, and it was last night a little bit. But I mean, we competed on the boards, and that's what I expect. We have a lot of things that we can do. We've pressed some this year, and we didn't much last night just because I didn't think that was the right move for us against them, and I thought it worked out for us well, which was part of the reason why they scored 99 points is because we had to start pressing to try to come back after they made that run, and that didn't work out for us. So, but you have to do that, try to get back in the game. But I just think getting these guys to believe, because we have a super athletic team, and we have the ability and the potential to be a great defensive team, I think. But we have a ways to go. And with us offensively, I think we can get stops, and we call them kills, which is 3 stops in a row. So if we can get kills and runouts and turn the defense into offense, that's where we're going to be an elite team if we can get there.
Friends men's basketball coach Phil McClintock here on the latest edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita. Last night, Friends falling to Kansas Wesleyan 99-78. Up next, Friends has the conference home opener coming up inside the Garvey Center on Saturday at 7 o'clock. The doubleheader starts at 5 o'clock here in Wichita. What's up with Drew Patterson loving maybe arena? I don't know what it is. Anytime he goes up to Salina, he just seems to play extremely well. That was kind of his coming out party a couple of years ago when he was a freshman. Last year, different story because he was banged up. He had that back injury, came back, but you could just tell he wasn't the same player. But so far this year, watching him, seems like he's fully healthy and he's doing extremely well. He led the way with 22 points last night, 7 of 12 from the floor, 4 of 6 from beyond the arc, added 4 rebounds. Drew Patterson just had a great game last night. Your thoughts on Drew and what he was able to do?
Yeah, I mean, he was selected a team captain, and I've coached against Drew, and I remember actually he had his freshman year, he had a really good game against Ottawa, up at Ottawa, and then last year didn't really think much just because I don't even know if he played against us. I know he missed some games, but didn't do a ton. And so this year I've been, obviously really pleasantly surprised. He's been a leader. He's a plus defender, a very good defender, which is awesome, at that guard spot, 3-and-D guy. But, last night I actually asked him after the game, I'm like, hey, do you do that? Like, he was shooting some really bad shots. He's like, yeah, I'm a rhythm guy. So whenever I feel good, like I start taking, like what we would consider bad shots. I was like, Drew, if you do that last night, you take whatever shot you want because he was. I mean, and it was really impressive. Some of the shots and the moves he was making to get those shots, which is fine. I know. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I just had not seen that in practice or games. So Drew's been awesome, and us, our guys know that Drew's feeling good and that he's one of our top guys, and so we're really trying to find him and run plays for him, and they're bought into that too, so which helps.
What's funny is I was talking to the voice of the Coyotes, Tyler Henry, and I called him last night on the way down after being up in McPherson, and I was just talking with him a little bit, and he was just like, "So does Drew Patterson normally make step back threes like that?" And I'm like, "Well, I know he's got the capability. I haven't seen it yet." So he was blown away by what Drew was able to do on last night as well. KJ Speller, one of the new guys, is trying to fit in. Probably his best game. 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Did a little bit of everything, which when you look at KJ, I think that's what you see out of him. I think you go, this guy can do a variety of things. So how pleased were you with what he was able to do last night in his first conference game?
Yeah, I was pleased. I mean, he played, I think, the most minutes, either the most or the second most, and that tells you why. I mean, we liked what he was doing. I know he has it in him. We have him playing the 4. He's really a 3-4, but he has a really good, really quick first step. He can shoot the ball. He has a good mid-range, and he's a good defender too. So I think part of our defense and what I liked about us being on the same page was him being in there. And I know Little John had 27 points, and Belay had some points too, but he did a good job on their bigs too, which I think helped us. But KJ is going to get it going, and he's gonna have to score in double figures, on a nightly basis for us to be good. So we got to, and we could probably run a little bit more to help get him going. So which is on me because he's a good player and we need him to get going. So, and obviously 3 assists to 1 turnover and no turnovers. I mean, he can make plays for others too.
Yeah. Phil McClintock, our guest here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM, 99-78 last night in Salina. A loss to Kansas Wesleyan. The conference home opener coming up on Saturday against McPherson. 7 o'clock tip for the men, 5 o'clock for the women from the Garvey Center. Another newcomer as well as Colin Macklin, 4 of 7 from the field last night, 21 minutes, finished with 11 points. I always find transfers interesting. Sometimes they just click instantaneously, and you're like, wow, that's really simple. Most times, though, it takes a full year for someone to get truly acclimated to a new culture and get settled in. But Colin Macklin, I know we were talking about him coming from Missouri Valley. Guy had a great freshman season, but now it is a different deal. It is a different conference. But the guy's already played in the heart, so he already knows what good competition is going to be like. Last night finished with 11 points. Your thoughts on Colin Macklin?
Yeah, he's been good. He's had 2 games in a row where he's played well. I mean, I'm trying to kind of find him more minutes, 21 minutes. He could probably play more. But he's shooting the ball well at a high rate. He has a really good pull-up. I'd like to see him maybe create more, we were getting a bunch of good looks, and we shot over 50%. So what do you say, from 3 and 2. So, but I would like to share the ball a little bit more. I mean, our assist numbers were low. So, he's one of those guys, him and Steele and even Drew. We got to create for each other a little bit just to get easier shots. But, he's athletic. Defensively, yesterday was probably his best game, which has been something that's taken some of our transfers a little bit of time just to guard like we want to guard. Which is natural. But Colin he's so athletic, and if he can get it going like I know he can, he's a sophomore. We're playing 5 sophomores, so these guys, we don't have time to make that excuse. So you guys gotta, we gotta do it together. But he has a lot of potential. So.
Yeah, well, the thing is you brought up, with transfers getting acclimated and everything, you brought up the assist total being so low, which is 5 assists on 31 makes. I know with your approach, it's a little bit more free-flowing, so you're one that says, hey, if you play defense, you can take whatever shot you want, probably is the best way to describe it, because you are, at the end of the day, a defensive-minded coach. Yep. But when you do have 5 assists on 30-some makes in a free-flowing offense, how do you go about trying to share the rock a little bit more?
Well, I think when you're free flowing, and I give them quite a bit of freedom, I just want them to take good shots that they're going to make. And if you're shooting over 50% from the floor, if you're shooting 50% from 3 or whatever it was, 40%, we didn't shoot a ton because we were at the rim a lot. Then you just keep doing that. That's not a problem. Now we had 13 turnovers. We've been actually a really good turnover team on offense. We only had 7 against Wichita State. Yeah. We've been pretty low. And so 13, it's not bad for a new team. It really isn't. But I I like to be around. I think on the year I was looking at stats yesterday before the game, we were 14 assists to 14 turnovers, and so we would like that ratio to be a little higher, assist to turnover. But if you're shooting, like I said, shooting over 50% from the floor, that means you're getting to the rim. We got to the free throw line the same amount of times as K-Dub, which has been a problem because we haven't got to the free throw line much. So, I mean, offensively, what we did, I'm fine with that in that game yesterday. So.
Friends men's basketball coach Phil McClintock here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita. 99-78 the final last night in Salina. Up next is a matchup with McPherson inside the Garvey Center. You brought up Wichita State. Let's talk about that exhibition game against the Wichita State Shockers this past weekend. It took place on Sunday. I know I was excited just to be in the building and kind of see the faces of all the different players, and you get to see their reaction, just how cool it was to get a chance to play in an environment like that. The best part was, though, first media timeout, hey, Friends has the lead, and I'm sending people, hey, stop the game. This is a win right now. Here comes the next media timeout. Friends up on top. Hey, stop the game. This is good right now. And then a 17-0 run by Wichita State, and the Shockers would go on the win. And you told me, you said, hey, we're going to double the post. We're going to do this. I know Wichita State maybe, in years past, not the best of shooting teams, but you warned me. You're like, we're going to double the post, and I bet you they're going to shoot the ball pretty well tonight. Yeah. And guess what? Dalen Original makes 3 threes and right off the bat, and you're like, all right, well, it was fun. But nice thing is, you took something away from that, I would imagine, an exhibition game going, hey, we played 8 minutes of solid basketball. We came out ready to go. We were the aggressors. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts with that exhibition game on Sunday at Charles Cook Arena?
Yeah, it was an awesome experience for our guys. It was fun. I think it gave us momentum. I mean, I think, our guys weren't afraid to play. They were aggressive. We were, playing our brand of basketball, which was awesome. They just have multiple 7-footers or whatever that didn't help, So
wait, you're trying to tell me having multiple 7-footers is a good thing in the game of basketball?
Yeah, against our team it is for sure. So we couldn't really get to the rim. We were getting blocked and giving up some boards, but we battled. I mean, and we battled the whole game, and we played a lot of guys. And I got a lot of positive feedback. Hey, man, your guys look good. Like, I don't know what everybody expects.
Yeah.
But I've been a part of quite a few of those games, exhibition games, D2 and D1 both, and that start, I mean, is what it takes to give your guys confidence and stay in the game, because I've seen it go the other way, and to where it ends up being a huge blowout early, and then it's not as fun for your guys, and the other team is, playing more guys. So, but they didn't. I mean, that's what I heard in one of the press conference after the game. Paul Mills was like, we had a plan, and then we were down 17-15, and that plan kind of went out the window because we had to win the game. So, making teams like that at least think, early, that was a positive. So,
well, the reaction when I got back to the press conference room, everyone's sitting there getting lined up. I have the camera ready and shooting and all that wonderful stuff. And everyone kept coming up to me, and they're going, who's this Drew Patterson kid? I'm like, yeah. I mean, Drew, I kind of gave him the backstory. It's like, look, last year he was banged up with a back injury. Freshman year, you saw flashes, and now he's an upperclassman, so it's a little bit different now. But every single one of those media members is like, who's this Drew Patterson kid who finished with 15 points in the game? But I think the most important thing, and Taylor Eldridge, who writes for the Wichita Eagle, comes on my show very, very often. I think that the biggest compliment that he could have ever gave, and I'm sure you're going, hey, this is, I love hearing this. Drew had a couple of strips on drives where Wichita State might have the size to try to pound and get their way to the rim. Drew said, no, sir, I'm taking that ball away from you. I'm going the other way, and I'm doing that. Taylor came away extremely impressed with just the defensive ability from Drew, just the willingness to go, nope, I'm going to step in front, I'm going to rip the ball away. Just because you got a couple inches on me doesn't mean I'm not going to fight and scrap. And I think when you see those plays, it's got to jack up a team when you see those types of defensive plays.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously going against Wichita State, they're going to be, bigger, faster, stronger for the most part. And that's what kind of one thing that they went to is they tried to kind of isolate us, and we call them straight line drives, driving right down the gut, and the channel is what we call it. And we've had some trouble with that early in the year. I mean, a lot of trouble containing that basketball. And, obviously Wichita State, and we focused on that. And, we showed, just like talking about Drew and some other guys, I mean, we were there, and we kept them out of the paint, and we made it hard for them to score. And then I think we carried that on to Kansas Wesleyan, who was obviously, they have Murdoch, and that's what he's best at. And I think we did actually a really good job of keeping him out of the paint and a lot of their guards. So, I mean, I think it translated, and yeah, any praise we get for our guys, I mean, giving them recognition's awesome. So
Yeah. Phil McClintock, our guest here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita. Coming up next is a home contest with McPherson inside the Garvey Center. 7 o'clock being the tip-off coming up on Saturday. 5 o'clock for the women for the doubleheader coming up this weekend. You just excited to be back home?
yeah, we need to get there. So I'm like,
You've been to you've been to Missouri, you've been to Oklahoma City. I know technically Wichita State was a home environment, but it's still a little bit different. It's not inside the Garvey Center, and then you go to Salina, and now you're back for a couple games inside the Garvey Center. So I'm sure it feels nice.
yeah, we need more. We need a few. I mean, it's just for a young team, it's just a lot easier to play at home. You feed off the energy. You don't have to travel. And I'm like, I keep telling them, I don't know if they listen to me all the time, but I'm like, guys, this stretch of games has been really hard because Central Methodist, Oklahoma City, and Kansas Western are all good teams. I mean, it's traditionally great, and it's just not easy. And then the one home game we had, we won by 50, set a school record for points, which is awesome. But I'm like, hey, we made 18 threes. I'm like, everything is easier at home. So, like, I just believe it. That game could have been different last night at home, and so, but I'm ready to get there. It's not going to be easy. I mean, it's just our schedule's tough and the KCAC is tough, but I know that everything, like I said, everything's easier at home. So we need a couple home games.
Yeah, well, you do get a couple of them. You have 3 of the next 4 actually inside the Garvey Center. You take on McPherson on Saturday. I called the McPherson Bethel game last night, and watching McPherson. The Bulldogs last year finished under 500. I think that was the first time since TJ has taken over, which is, they're traditionally winning games, is what they normally do. But last year they missed the KCAC postseason tournament. I don't know if they're truly at full strength yet. I don't know some of the situations with some of their players. But you look at the amount of talent that they have back. They have Antonio Watson who can shoot like crazy. Last night he was off, but traditionally good. Probably one of the best mid-range shooters that the conference has this year. If you let him shoot at the foul line, at the elbow, he's going to bury you. It's just the way it works. Curtis Rose, maybe not the biggest scoring threat, but he is a point guard that's coming back super long. Jerome Mabry's a guy who doesn't look like he wants to be a power guy, but he could be a power guy and certainly can make some shots from the perimeter. Jamel Hardaway was big last night. He kind of sparked and run for McPherson. And then you bring in some new talent. They have Quinn Collins, who's 6'9", who's a big guy in the middle. I'm sure Tim's going to have a fun challenge there. But the one guy that really just blew me away was Colin Storr, who is averaging 18 points per game at this point, had a good game last night. Got in foul trouble early, only played 6 minutes in the first half. But you look at him, and he's a load. He is a tough guy to slow down. He had this one where he did a fake dribble handoff. He went to the rim. No one picked him up, and he just cocked back and just jammed it. And I'm like, okay, that might be a little bit problematic coming up on Saturday. So your thoughts on McPherson and the challenges that they present this weekend?
Yeah, I mean they're 5-0, and they've beat some good teams. I know they beat Benedictine. They went to Panhandle, Central Christian. So I mean, obviously winning last night at home. So, I mean, they're good. It's going to be a test. A lot of these teams have returners, which we do too. We just have a new system. So, I mean, I feel good about our trajectory and where we're going with our system. But it's just going to be there's a reason that team's 5-0. They have obviously a lot of talent and are playing well. So it's going to be a challenge. I'm ready for it. I'm excited about it. I know our guys will be too. We haven't done a ton of work on them. We started the scout, obviously we usually do, but we'll obviously dig into that today and start doing some game planning stuff, see what we'll do against them. So,
well, TJ Eskelson, an assistant coach under Tim Schwartzendruber. Tim Schwartzendruber moves on. TJ gets the head coaching job. He had Jason Artez on the sidelines last night for Bethel. An assistant coach takes over when Tony Hoops becomes the athletic director at Bethel, now at Northwestern. I always like this conference because there's a lot of assistants become head coaches. So from someone in your position, it's a little bit different, though, because it's not like you go from being an assistant at Ottawa to being the head coach at Ottawa. You go somewhere else. But Anthony Munson's done that from Tabor going to Kansas Wesleyan. Normally you just see guys get promoted from within, and that's that. But in your shoes, it's a little bit different. But how neat is it to have a conference to where it is like a group of a bunch of assistant coaches that pay their dues that are now getting their shots as head coaches.
Yeah, it's cool. It's nice. I was an assistant in the conference for 8 years, and played in the conference. And some of these coaches were coaching whenever I was playing, so it's really cool. Guys like Artaz passed us on the highway last night coming home from our game and text me, and we text back and forth after their game about how we both lost and weren't happy. But I won't tell you exactly what we said.
I'm sure it was very, very fun. It was a good conversation.
Right. And one thing nobody knows about TJ. TJ was at William Woods as a GA, started that program. I followed him. Mm-hmm. So I sat in the desk after TJ left William Woods. I sat in his desk, so filled that role for him. So we've known each other for a long time. So having that, and he was obviously an assistant in the league, and being assistants, you kind of get to know the guys. So it's cool. Everybody getting promoted, seeing them have success, and so that's what. And I appreciate getting this job. That's what I'm trying to do here. So we just got to win a couple games. So, yep.
Well, I guess we'll see what happens on Saturday, and then after that, you take on Haskell on Tuesday. Important to get a game in before turkey break, before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, either before or after. I know the girls are playing at Columbia College that next Saturday, and so for us, I mean, really, it doesn't matter timing wise. Our schedule was pretty empty whenever I took over, so it was kind of a scramble to make it. So having them, I know they owed us a game, and so because we played there, I guess they played there last year. Friends did. Getting that game in, then we'll get. I mean, I know the guys, especially playing Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. Like, I'm talking to them like, hey, I understand like what you guys are doing. I know it's not easy, but you got to stick with it. And so I know there's a much needed break coming up, and then we'll come back that next Saturday after Tuesday. So, but I mean, being at home, there's not as much of a toll on your body, I feel like, in your mind. So it'll be a little bit hopefully easier on them just being at home.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's be real. Players prefer games to practices, so you're getting a lot of games in at this point. Sure. So there's nothing wrong with that. More games, you get to work out the kinks and all that stuff, which that could be very beneficial going forward. Well, Coach, really appreciate your time. Best of luck to you this upcoming weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks.
Phil McClintock, the head men's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends Basketball Show. Friends losing to Kansas Wesleyan last night, 99-78, but looking to bounce back on Saturday when the Friends Falcons welcome the McPherson Bulldogs. 7 o'clock tip for the men, 5 o'clock for the women inside the Garvey Center. Hope you can come out and join us for some basketball, the conference home opener taking place this weekend. And then, hey, if you got no plans, let's be real. People like to take off for work, next week because it's Thanksgiving. Hey, if you're going to take off on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, gives you a perfect reason to come out and watch the Friends basketball on that Tuesday at 7:30.
We're trying to move that game to 6. So
okay.
Be aware of that. I'm supposed to hear this morning. But it's 7:30 right now, trying to move to 6.
Okay, so go to the website. Yeah. Don't trust what the broadcaster's saying here.
Exactly.
Go to friendsathletics.com. There's nothing wrong with that, Coach. You're fine. I know things are very, 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 very fluid, so there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure Levi over here is going, oh, that's news to me. So it's all good. And there's nothing wrong with it being at 6 o'clock, too. So if we want to do it at 6, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. So just pay attention to friendsathletics.com. Make sure to come out on Tuesday, though, inside the Garvey Center to support the Friends men's basketball team. Well, that does it for us here today with another edition of the Friends Basketball Show. With football being over, now we just move forward with Friends basketball shows, and we'll have another one next week as we'll talk to Dean Jaderson. A big win for the Friends women last night in Salina, 84-61 being the final up in the inside maybe arena up in Salina against Kansas Wesleyan. Well, that does it for us. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you again next time for our next edition of the Friends Basketball Show.